myself, or if you prefer, you could send it over to Emily and they can be asked. So if it's a question about me, send it to Emily.
Okay. All right. So topics for tonight. Gonna go through the start of the season recap. Just talk about some of our teams. Give everyone a COVID update. Kind of topic du jour. Viewing update where families can see their kids play. Team fees, team apparel, female hockey, goalie initiation, our high performance stream, spring hockey, and then some Q&A. So if we flip to our next slide here, start of the season recap. So before the shutdown of games, we were in the PCHA rolling league play where it was 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off. A number of our teams had the ability to play some exhibition games. Within those, it seemed that all of our teams were doing remarkably well, to be honest. They took everybody from last year and plunked them basically back into the same tier. And we had no teams that really seemed that they needed to move down. All of our teams were middle of the pack, if not way on top. We had a couple teams in our Atom division absolutely walking all their competition, which I think is a great sign for us moving forward. I think during the lockdown and during the summer where we had access to the rink really gave our players a chance to get ahead of some of their competition. And it started to show when they got to play games. On the female side, same thing. All of our teams seem to be doing very well, which is incredible. And we'll talk about a little bit later. But overall, I would think from our H1s all the way through midgets, our teams had some pretty good success. Unfortunately, everything got shut down before we had a chance to see round two or to get some more games played. But for right now, as far as our season went, all of our teams are doing quite well. Flip. Perfect. So COVID update. This is a fun one. So right now, as of last Saturday, 1 p.m., as per Bonnie Henry, we are not back in phase 2 officially, but we can no longer play games or have contact. There's a couple tiny things that were different from phase 2 that we were originally in, but basically it's a public health order that we have to abide by these rules. And the reason public health is so important, if they see that we're playing games or we're not following, they can come and just lock the building down and say that North Shore Winter Club total is no longer allowed to operate. So these aren't BC Hockey or PCHA rules. They're much, much more important that we follow from our staff to our coaches to everybody in between. So there's restrictions on travel in sports, and nobody's allowed to travel out of the Lower Mainland basically, and even within the Lower Mainland to not transfer between health authorities. As of right now, we do have a request in with BC Hockey and PCHA on our side. They're the ones sending it to the health authority, asking that players who play at the club or junior hockey or who their primary team or their bubble is, if they were able to cross. So we haven't had word back yet from public health, but it is definitely being chased down because there's a number of people and players and families who are affected by this. So we're very aware of the inconvenience, but with the current state of the COVID numbers climbing, I wouldn't expect to get a response until Saturday. After that, we can look at some different options. No games at this time of any sort in practice or elsewise. Even though our players all have masks, it's still important they keep that 2-meter distance. Our goal is to keep our players as safe as possible at all times. Just reading that there's some other associations who have had to shut down full teams because of outbreaks within their teams. We've been really lucky to not have that at this time, but that's kind of where the hockey season seems to be going in the Lower Mainland. Mandatory masks, those are the CCM Game On ones. If players don't find them comfortable, they're more than welcome to wear something else, anything that works as a mask to help stop the spread as much as possible and show that we're doing what we can. If the leagues end up getting shut down, hopefully we don't get shut down as a rink, which would allow our members to still have access to hockey, which is really important. So, and finally, no spectators in the rink, and that's a public health, another public health mandate on an order. So only people who are involved in the game. So the coaches, safety people, and anybody that is needed for the safety and the game to commence. We can also, I believe, still have the video person on if needs be to video the practices. On that front, there are a couple of provinces where hockey's been basically shut down. Alberta just said no for a 2-week break. Everything is shut. Quebec, Manitoba, Ontario. So right now BC's in a relatively good spot, and we're lucky, but we want to do everything we can to maintain that. Next up, we got a viewing update. So the last couple of years, we've had Live Barn in place of having fans in the stands or having their parents around. We've had Live Barn, which isn't a great product. We did what we could at the club to try and get a better feed into the lounge, put up its own Wi-Fi specifically for the TVs, and it just wasn't serving members as well as it could have. So we invested in Vimeo, which is basically an online platform that we can video from in the rink, and it gives a high def feed on the way out. Only problem is you have to have somebody manning the camera. The good side of it, apparently members have locked onto it because we've had 4,000 as of this morning, 4,252 total views. We've had 853 unique views. We've been viewed from a number of countries, which is kind of cool. Canada, US, the UK, Australia, Belarus, Denmark, Finland, Ireland, Netherlands, Austria, and Hong Kong. So apparently word's getting out there that everyone's doing a great job. And finally, just the bottom there, the spectator policy. It's a public health order that we can't have fans in the stands. So it's something that we don't really have any options on at this point. Hopefully something opens up, but again, that's out of our control. So we're just doing what we can to follow the orders and stay open so the kids can keep playing. Next one. This is one of the big ones we got some questions on, so we wanted to break it down for everybody who had questions. So basically the breakdown of team fees have all been sent out to the families. The number that was sent out for everybody was the maximum that would be charged to members. Basically this year, in making an all-inclusive price, what we wanted to do was avoid having the number of different charges that members had seen in the past. In the past, we would have seen upwards of 6 separate fees that would have come at separate times. So you would have paid your ice activity fee, which would have been charged by the club. Then you would have got your minor hockey registration fee. Then you would have had a tryout fee. Then you would have had your team fees that would basically buy your refs, apparel, other random. If you had extra development, you would have coaching fees that would show up on your member statements. If you chose to do dry land on the side or with the team, that would be another fee associated with it. And so this year we wanted to make sure that we were able to offer a product regardless of where the world was with COVID. So upping the development and then upping the dry land to make sure that players, in light of not having away games, we wanted to make sure they still had that opportunity to develop athletically, as well as including everything else. So members knew it was one price they were up against. We understand that it was the sticker shock of it was more, but after we went over multiple team budgets and put it all together, almost every team came in under what they had last year outside of major tournaments, outside of flights and whatnot. So just the stuff that was included, we tried to make sure that everything was on par, if not less. The big one where a lot of people have asked about on our fees was the transparency in terms of how much was exactly each pen, what was each t-shirt, what was the reason that we put everything together was because we need a little bit of flexibility with it. If, as we are this year, the dry lands that we've had to cancel, those aren't going to be added to anybody's bill. As we move along, those are going to start to be subtracted from the final payment to make sure members are only paying for what they use. So if we have less games, that means you're not going to have to pay for those refs. If we aren't able to use the dry lands, those also aren't going to be used for everybody else. So this season, our whole idea was just to make stuff easier on the members. Moving forward into the future and future years, do we do the same thing? I don't think so. I don't think it'll be exactly like this, but I'd imagine it's some sort of hybrid. What a lot of people don't recognize is in the past couple of years, I've seen more and more of families being upset with their manager or managers being upset that they have to chase individuals and saying, as a member, I don't really want to have to deal with the money end of it. And it's not everybody, but there were definitely complaints on the other way, as well as seeing a number of members move for other programs such as academies or where we had heard HPL, and they were really happy to have one cost, that's what they pay, and they knew what they were up against. So we thought if we could find some type of situation like that, it would just give us a better product overall and allow people to see an exact, this is what you're getting for this price. So that was our team fees. So if we can kick to the next one. Team apparel, this will all be coming in this week. We just got all the t-shirt, shorts. We got regular Winterhawk masks, not the CCM ones. We also have helmet stickers coming in numbers, and then Sox as well. The reason for the delay with our registration pushed back, usually it's in April or May. We didn't have our final numbers until sitting somewhere in August. That really put a stress on getting all of our apparel and everything ordered. So it's all in now and just bagging it up for each team. It'll be distributed to managers, and then they can distribute out to their teams from there. Good.
Bob, can I just jump in quick? I think we're having some problems with the chat function. So we're working through that. So if you have questions or if you've tried to send through questions, we're working on that. So keep listening, keep your questions and then we'll share them once we get this sorted, just as an update.
Okay. For the female hockey component, I'm going to turn over to Emily Allen.
Hi, everyone. Yes, on the chat thing, I think they're all coming to me. So I think once I give the female update, I'll try and get that all sorted, and then we can address that at the end. But I'm going to talk a bit about female hockey right now. So in tonight's meeting, I want to highlight some of the achievements that our female program has made in the last 2 years, and kind of what our goals are for the 2021 year and what we're currently working on as a female subcommittee. Under the leadership of our new chair, which is Jill Lawler, who I believe is on the call as well. So some of the achievements that we've made over the years have been that, well, this year we have a female team at every level, plus 2 novice teams this year, which is awesome. In the past, many of you know that we've had to combine bantam and midget to make one team, so we're really excited that we have a separate bantam and midget team this year. As well, we ran a very successful female hockey tournament the last 2 seasons. Most notably, we partnered with Cami Granado to honestly run one of the most successful tournaments that I've ever been a part of, which is awesome. We also have been hiring and keeping several high-profile and paid coaches on the female side. And lastly, we've also been able to offer several female-specific development programs and options to our members. One being actually the Cami Granado Hockey School that we've done in the last 2 summers. And now I'm going to talk about some of the 2021 goals for female hockey. So our focus is ongoing recruitment to continue to build our player base from U6 all the way to U18. We'd also like to continue to develop strong coaches at all levels, increase our marketing and advertising of the female hockey program. A big focus for us will be actually using social media to kind of get the word out about our program. So we've enlisted the help of a lot of our female players to do that. So we're really excited about that. And we also are looking at a female hockey specific membership and trying to roll that out in the upcoming year. And as well, to consider a female hockey academy or a major midget program to be hosted here. And lastly, we feel we need to focus on goalie recruitment as well. So with our goals outlined above, I want to let our membership know what we are currently working on as of right now. So this includes creating a 3-year strategic plan for female hockey. We've held 1 meeting so far, which included almost all of our female coaches, several parent representatives from a variety of age groups, minor hockey committee representation, and this was led by myself and Jill Lawler. It was an awesome meeting, and we were able to conduct a SWOT analysis of our program. So the goal is here to host several more meetings to kind of finalize our strategic plan and get that out to all members. We're also trying to gather feedback from past and present members. We're working on surveying members who have left our female program to be able to better tackle the issues that caused their departure. We also think it is extremely important to have conversations with current players and parents to get their input on how the year is going from their point of view. So we feel this feedback will allow us to target any areas of concern from members. One thing that we just discussed at our last female subcommittee meeting was actually assigning members of the committee to reach out to different age groups to help us gather that important information. So it's really important that our members are kind of giving us the good and the bad and the ugly, and we can work on those things. As well, we have created a first draft of a female hockey membership, and we plan to continue working through the details of this membership with our membership committee and female subcommittee. And lastly, we are working on spring hockey options, so whether it might be spring teams and or possibly weekly development sessions for female players specifically. We're using the feedback we received from the survey that went out a few weeks ago, and we'll keep everyone posted and informed on any updates there. Yeah, so that kind of concludes our female update, but feel free to reach out to myself and Jill, and we'd be happy to chat about any ideas or areas of concerns in regards to female hockey at the North Shore Club. So thank you.
Okay. Up next, we're going to go to our goalie program, which has been a big focus this season to try and recruit and retain more goalies, as well as just develop them and allow them to chase their dream as well. And so I'm going to hand it over to Saylor Preston, one of our technical directors.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so as far as our goalies go, we held a goalie town hall in October that kind of outlined more specifics about our goalie program. But I think as far as the start of the season goes, a lot of the games that were played that Bob mentioned earlier in the kind of team update on the start of the season, I think we saw some really good things. There was definitely a lot of shutouts there, which is definitely a good sign. So in terms of kind of what we've been doing, each goalie or team gets 10 private sessions per team. Those have already started, and I reached out to those today who haven't used a lot of them yet. So hopefully we can get those scheduled. And then in terms of the weekly group clinics, there's been some really good turnout. And I think something that's really been really good to see is that there's been quite a few initiation goalies that have come out to try goalie for the first time. And I think if we can get those goalies in at a young age that really, start to love the position, I think it'd be really, really valuable for our club. In terms of overall value of these sessions, in terms of the private sessions and the group clinic, I think that we have it calculated as over a $2,400 value. And I'd say if you're looking for this elsewhere, I'd say it probably would get even more than that. So I think it's huge value for our goalies that we really want them taking advantage of that. We were working on some goalie specific dry land before kind of the COVID, this extra COVID phase. And it's something that we'll explore as hopefully, restrictions loosen, and it's something that we might be able to offer. This Sunday, there's going to be a goalie coaching seminar, which is going to be really good for our minor hockey coaches, just to give them a bit more of an idea on the fundamentals of a goalie and what goalies' needs are during practice, so that they can help them practice in and practice out, so that when a goalie coach isn't there, that our coaches are educated and make sure that they're giving our goalies what they need during practice time. I think that's really good. And then we're just going to continue to ensure that all our goalies are taking advantage of our development options. I think we have a great staff who are really cohesive and on the same page. And I think that we have a lot to offer our young goalies for the future. If anyone has any questions about, our goalie program or what we're offering, feel free to reach out to any of our goalie coaches, myself, or the hockey department, and we can definitely help you with all of that.
All right, excellent. Now for the fun part. Apparently our chat is not working, so we're going to put a text number out, so you can text your questions to the number provided here. Em, are you able to put it online somewhere?
Yes, just give me 2 seconds. I'm typing it right now.
Okay, so we're going to put a number out that you can text your questions to. Apologize for the technical hiccup here, but that's where we're at right now. So up next, we're going to talk about our initiation program. Going to hand over to our other technical director, Tyson Ulock.
Hello, everyone. Just going through our initiation program right now. We had at the beginning of the year, our balancing skates, and they went very well. All the teams are very competitive, and they're very exciting, both female and male. Our biggest concern and biggest growth here is growing the love of the game. And I think we've done a very good job with that. Our coaches here have done a great job of teaching the team fundamentals and values. The kids are very excited to be on the ice every development session. Sometimes they have a little too much candy at times. Our development one, H1, is more focusing right now on balancing on their skates and basic hand positions, and developing the love of the game. H2 and U7, Tyke, they're off to a very good start. Skating has improved, inside out, edge control has been very well done. Transferring their weight from leg to leg with good body control has been amazing. The puck skills is a basic foundation right now of forehand to backhand and backhand to forehand. Shooting, weight transfer, and wrist shots have been greatly improved over the last couple sessions. Passing, right now, we're just working on the push and pull basic foundation. Upcoming for the next couple sessions here is going to be backhand shooting and passing backhand. We will work on some stick fundamentals on stick checking and poke checking, just so the awareness of that. Head up with all movements now. For skating, is going to be more acceleration, pivots from forwards to backwards and backwards to forwards. Our H3. Our H3s right now are learning how to be a team, and it's very exciting to watch them progress. The development in skating has been greatly improved from speed from both forwards to backwards. Our passing from tape to tape has been extraordinarily better since the beginning of the year. Our shooting fundamentals have improved, trying to make sure we're not flipping the puck all the time. Sometimes are easier said than done. Our upcoming progressions will be passing, cycling the puck, triangle attacks, both passing snap passes, movement passing, and area passes. Our backhand shooting will be addressed this upcoming progressions. Our T-push technique and accuracy. Our tactical, we'll start to dip into a little bit of that of give and go theory, puck support, stick positioning defensively and offensively. And just a basic foundation of what a zone entry is and what positioning is. Our H4 and U9 and novice girls, it's an amazing group, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them graduate up into Adam. Their skating has improved tremendously. Their crossover and lateral shifts are very, very good. Their puck skills look great, and we're going to be increasing reps, and progressions will get more difficult of the upcoming sessions. Our shooting reps have gone really well. Kids are starting to raise the puck with a lot of force on it. Our upcoming training points this next couple development sessions are understanding what zone entries are, what offsides are, and icing. Understanding what positions are, stick pressure, and angling. Each group has had 3 games. They've done really well. We're looking forward to when PCHA gives us the okay to play against other clubs, and really give us a really good idea of where we are in compared to everybody else. Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, guys. All right. Now for a high performance stream. We've had a lot of questions about what we're doing to look after the top, the elite level players who are trying to chase the hockey dream. So we want to start right from the U11, because coming out of H4, once we start to get to rep level hockey, I mean, every athlete, I think, deserves that recognition of being high performance. So from our Adam, our U11, we have elite level coaching and development. From our A1 team with Luke Steele this year, who's been with the team for 3 seasons. A2, Ted Everton, whose teams have always done extremely well. Our A3 team with Mike Stewart, they were absolutely pounding teams in their first round of cohorts. And our A4 team also doing extremely well this season, which was great. So our goal there is to keep those coaches around and to allow those players that opportunity. What we don't offer is a chance to buy your spot on a team. And this is a big difference where a lot of parents, I know, get a little bit frustrated, or they get a little bit, got to do what the Joneses do. But we want to make sure that all of our players have that opportunity to earn their place. The final one, the team competes in the PCAHA cross conference against the top players in their age bracket. It's not just the kids who want to play in a specific league, but 2 years ago, I believe, we were able to move the Adam division, where it used to just play in our half of the conference, to play in everybody in the lower mainland, which I think gives the kids a real opportunity to play against the absolute best at that level, as opposed to just the ones who are playing in a very specific league. For the U13s, which is a big one coming into Pee Wee, we make sure again that we have those elite level coaches where our teams have traditionally done very well. And again, they will always be, players have to earn their place on that roster through a tryout process. And they compete in the PCHA Flight 1, which is against the top teams in the Lower Mainland. When health authorities approve, obviously. Right now, not really an option. The other thing that our minor hockey offers that other private programs can't is the chance to compete against others in the province for provincials and the chance to go to Quebec, which is such a big part of a lot of our PWA1 players' memories. It's a really unique offering that we have that not everybody else has been able to. Other minor hockey associations weren't able to claim, but I think it's a really special part. We have a pretty unique relationship with Quebec, and we're looking to actually strengthen it with some outside the box thinking to make sure that our teams continue to go for years to come. And it is a Hockey Canada sanctioned event, so only minor hockey or Hockey Canada sanctioned teams will be able to go to that. When we look at our U15 and U18, the landscape of hockey's changed where minor hockey is no longer the tip of the iceberg. It's not the top level with academies and now zone. Basically, the reason those were introduced was to allow for BC to keep up with a bunch of the rest of the country. So other parts of the country had major bantam in the past, allowing players from different zones to come together. But within the club, we want to make sure that those players that are still with us still have that ability to develop, still have that ability to take their game to that next level. Hockey's the only sport where we start to label kids elite at such a young age. If you look at basketball, football, kids aren't coming out of college to the pro level until they're 22, 23. And we're trying to roll that on 11-year-olds. So our goal with the U15 to U18 is to give kids a constructive environment where they can still push their skill set, allow their bodies to catch up and maybe their games to catch up, and then move on to bigger and better things. From last season to this season, we had a number of players move on from our midget team into junior hockey and zone teams. And our bantam team, a number of players went on to play in the zone. So it's not a end of the road or a rec level program, but it still offers our members a chance to catch up while they're still relatively young. I know in hockey terms, it seems like it's quite a ways away, but realistically for athletes, I think it's important that we do give them those opportunities when they stay in-house. We're also currently aligned with the BC Zone program, which is great because it gives our players more access to seeing their coaches seeing our players, which hopefully helps them in the long run. As far as, are we married to the Zone program? Yes, right now they are our partner, which provides opportunity for all the players from U15, U16, and then U18 as well. We're always looking at a variety of options to make sure we're always on top of what we can to give our players the best opportunity, but we are definitely currently aligned with the BC Zone program. So that does give our players that chance. As of before the lockdown, our U18 was one of the top teams or ranked as one of the top teams in the province. Unfortunately, they didn't get enough games to move on from there, but our teams did have very good outcomes off the top. So we do like to give those players, our players, the best opportunity possible moving forward. And if you want to switch to the next one here. So the next one's going to be our spring hockey. I apologize, my Zoom just dropped on me there, the page for it. So spring hockey, we are going to run spring hockey. We apologize for shutting down the tryouts after the November, whatever it was, the Saturday announcement, the competition should be stopped. We thought we should make the responsible action and cancel our tryouts at that point. Right now, because it's going to be all members as it stands right now, we wanted to make sure that we're keeping everybody healthy. So hopefully we can make it to that point in time to have a spring season without having to cancel our winter season. We understand why some other organizations chose to run stuff. They don't have the luxury of seeing all the players in their building. But for us, we thought it'd be the responsible thing to do moving forward, depending where we are with the public health. Then we are going to keep our a tryout in likely early January. And that'll be dependent on numbers of players who are interested, but we will be holding something for everybody. Every age group is going to have somewhere where they can play. We're going to have something where they can develop in-house, where we can watch our costs, where we aren't going to have basically money flowing out the door to private enterprises and have members having to pay for services that they aren't using. We want to make sure that we're giving something for all of our members. So from the 2015s right up through, I believe, first year period, second year period, I believe it's 2009s. We want to make sure that they have something that they can use. So that would be our spring hockey. Again, we're really fortunate to own our own rink on that, so we want to make sure members are using it, and it is still a go. And last but not least, our Q&A. For this, I'm going to hand it over to Dave Neal, who can hopefully feed me some softballs and then get to the hard-hitting stuff after that.
A lot of knuckle curves coming through, Bob, so not a lot of softballs. The first one it's on here is pre-submitted, how to join the minor hockey committee. A couple people have asked me that. So every year, our fiscal year end as a club, I believe, is end of April. So in around that time, it obviously coincides with the end of hockey season. An email came out. It came out again this year, asking for people that are interested. And then this year we had someone that had to come off the committee. So we actually sent out a second email this year and asked for someone to put their hand up. And that's when we were lucky enough to get Jill Lawler, who's an awesome addition to our group. And so it'll come out again in the spring. And, we have turnover on the committee and need people. So please put your hand up at that point. In terms of questions coming through, well, one, this isn't even a softball, this is a nice one. Just a congrats on the spring program, well done. I think the buzz that I've heard around the club, lots of people are excited about that and excited about that option. So looking forward to when we can get that going. Apologies for the lack of smooth moderating on these questions. We're looking at screenshots and texts and everything, so we'll do our best. One question here, it's come up sort of a couple times. Teams with unused development sessions or dryland training due to this shutdown or other reasons that it's unable to be used, will those players' families be reimbursed for those amounts?
So instead of a reimbursement, right now all of our minor hockey fees are billed in installments. So as we're tracking the games that aren't being played, the dryland that isn't being used, that just won't be charged. So I believe it's February, it's going to be the last payment. It'll be a smaller amount. So we're not going to take the money and then give it back. We're just never going to bill that amount. So each team, it's going to be adjusted based on current situation. I'd say relatively significantly. With the dryland sessions that aren't happening, some teams have chosen to take the option by the gym to do their sessions outside in a safe environment. So for those teams, they would be billed, but the other ones, it won't. It'll be on a team-by-team basis. Development sessions, same thing. If your team doesn't get to use them, that'll be what's refunded. If we have a 2-week circuit break or stop, same idea there. What we want to make sure is the members are only getting billed for what they use. So that would be the answer to that. You will not
in terms of a mechanism for tracking that, obviously the hockey department is tracking that. We've heard of some managers on teams that are going to try and keep a running tally of their development sessions and of their dryland sessions, which as an auditor, which I am, I think that's good practice. So, no one is trying to, when I talk to the hockey department, obviously no one's trying to trick anybody, but if you can keep track of it, that's fine too. And then check back with the records once we get to that point. I think that's not a bad idea. Kind of sticking to budgets, costs, stuff like that. And please feel free to keep sending in your questions, everybody. It's I know it's a bit clunky, but if you can send them in, we'd love to hear them. Just around costs, detailed breakdown of costs, is that available? What's sort of, I'll let you take a crack at that, Bob, and then I can add something too.
Okay.
People want that, can they see it?
We got it released in basically buckets to make sure that everybody saw where their dollars were going, whether it was your development and coaching, whether it was team fees, whether it was activity fees. As far as an individual line by line, we want to make sure that we have the ability to be a little bit adaptable with that. So that isn't being released in the same way. I know in the past, people have wondered about it when we're having volunteers run it. So when it's team managers, because there's been, I don't know if everybody follows minor sports that much, but Coquitlam minor baseball just lost $200,000 based on a volunteer handling the money. And so we want to ensure that we don't have any of that, but we wanted to make sure that all the members were able to see where the money was going, and then on the individual line by line, so people seeing the cents per item and the breakdown per player. Those were all vetted by the Minor Hockey Committee, which is basically just members who have volunteered to look out for members' interests. And then on top of that, it goes to our finance committee, which is also volunteer members at the club. And then the board has a final sign off on it as well. So we make sure that lots of, there are all the checks and balances. So there isn't, it's not like if we make more money that I suddenly get a Range Rover, or the Minor Hockey Committee's put in pools in. This is all definitely vetted by members every single time. If there's any change at all, had to go through 25 people, which the first time through, to be honest, was a little bit painful, but we wanted to make sure that it was as on the up and up as possible with everybody. So.
And just to add a bit of color to that, and I don't quote me on all these numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but if you think through it, registration is sort of in that 500 range. Activity fee is up this year, and that, to be honest, is it's club wide, so that's in around 400. So that knocks off quite a bit of it. And then if you think through, paid coaches are sort of in the 300 to 700 per kid, depending on the coach and the coaching numbers and all that. And then you've got dryland and development sessions. It covers it all. Once you get into the smaller things like shorts and t-shirts and masks and stuff like that, you're getting into some pretty small dollars. Through the process we went through, I think everyone's happy that from the numbers that we can see, there's no fooling around with it. I know that's frustrating for some people, but it is where the club's going with this. One other question wanted to ask here is, and sorry, we were coming through a bit awkward. And Bob, or even Mike Sheriff, who's sort of leading some of this stuff. What's being done to combat HPL? Another question sort of in around, are we committed to the zone for U15 and above? Mike, did you want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I'm sitting in the cafeteria at the club right now, so I hope there's not too much background noise. But yeah, my name and number was on that slide on the high performance hockey issue. And what I just want to pass along to the members from the hockey committee is there were some questions at the AGM, for example, to James Cronk about what's the club doing, what's the hockey department doing to kind of retain our high performance level of hockey. And the answers at the AGM weren't as specific as they could have been, because I think the board is maybe a little bit removed from the minor hockey committee role. So the minor hockey committee is committed to doing anything possible within our authority to ensure that we are right at the cutting edge and one of the leading minor hockey associations in all of BC. And so in terms of, what are we doing about, losing kids to HPL or other places, there is stuff going on behind the scenes. There's a bit of a subcommittee that has been formed within the minor hockey committee to give some thought to ways to combat some of the retention issues, if I can call it that we've had with players. We know that the age group is creeping down in terms of players that we're losing that maybe would be more likely to fall within that high performance stream. We're willing as a committee, and we're motivated to try to make sure that if there are changes that can be made to our hockey program, that we make those changes. So I think the hockey department shares that view completely. So what I would say is my email was on that slide, and so I encourage anybody who wants to sort of give us some ideas about areas where they think we could improve or just ask questions about what's happening, to reach out to that slide or contact Bob or anyone else in the hockey department to sort of address those issues. And we welcome any ideas that people have, because it is important to both the committee and the department that we're doing everything we can to keep our position as a leading association for minor hockey.
Well, Bob, did you want to add anything on that, or are you? I think that's pretty good, but anything else from Bob?
No, I thought that was great. It's great to have a very supportive minor hockey committee and even the board who are behind being able to offer the top development program possible. So everything's on the table, and we are definitely looking at it from, all the way from our H1, H2, all the way through midget, but specifically in our Adam and Pee Wee, kind of moving forward, because that's kind of the next battleground of making sure we offer and are able to do stuff that others aren't. And I think this year's a pretty good indicator of it as well, what our Pee Wee team's been able to do and how far they've come already. And I think we're going to see a lot of those results next season when we're able to see what happened to the players who would have left, and then the ones that stayed, and how much extra ice our players got and development. So.
And I don't want to be naive in saying this. I know there's a whole bunch of other factors that have added this year, but I think that this year in particular, the HPL was able to speak with a lot of certainty, whether it was foundationally correct or not, but certainty around their season. Whereas us in a minor hockey world that's tied to BC Hockey and PCAHA and others had a hard time speaking with that certainty. So next year, hopefully the world's back to normal. That should help. And then Bob spoke to it earlier, but the draw of playing in the provincials or playing Quebec and things are unique to minor hockey, and for our members unique to playing at the club. So again, not that those solve all, but we do think that some of the things didn't line up great. So. That's that one. Along the development question, team development sessions, interesting question here. How come teams aren't able to, or I guess the question is, are they able to pick who they have coaching some of their development sessions? Which development coaches are out there? If you have a team that wants to focus on power skating or wants to focus on shooting or something, can they do an a la carte scheduling?
So the idea originally, and we've done that in the past, the reason for a laid out schedule is we wanted to make sure that all the teams are able to get all of the development that the parents have paid for. In previous seasons where we left it up to just teams themselves, there were a lot of unused sessions. As far as budget wise, like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that was just left on the table. And for us, as much as the dollar value is important to be aware of, and if we can have the savings was great, I think the players also missed out on that because it was part of the program that was offered. So by pre-scheduling all of the sessions, it allowed us members and players to know that they were going to get their full value. We have had some requests from teams to have specific items or specific coaches for certain parts of the program, and we've accommodated a fair bit with the ones that have. But we also want to make sure that we're giving our players, exposing them to a variety of coaches. It's not just one coach who's buddy with a developer. And even though that developer does a great job, we want to make sure that everybody is seen and our players have the best chance to have a well-rounded development season with us. So it's possible with the request to Sailor handles our scheduling for that. And we have been accommodating to this point. But the whole reason was just to make sure that everybody got the full value and that all the sessions are going to be used.
And I think to build on that, Bob, another piece of this is maybe more the business side of it. I think as a club, we're really lucky to have the development staff that we have. We have, people with varying areas of focus or varying coaching styles that are going to work with different people. But part of it is these guys are also, guys and girls are trying to also create a bit of a living here and also plan their lives a little bit. So, spreading it around keeps them happy, keeps them staying with the club as well. So there is that angle too, which I think sort of layers onto this. Another development question here, and actually anyways, is the club thinking about or considering incorporating sports psychology for teams as part of team development? I think it's a good question to put on a tee for you, Bob.
Yeah, that's a great question because we've already started them. We've booked a sports psychologist to meet with all of our teams. That's included in the team fees. Kyle Berg, who's a SFU student right now who works the sports psychology firm. He started his sessions with some of our teams. I believe we've already had 2 to 3 of the teams have gone through the sessions with him, and they've gone really well so far. I think it's really important. It's kind of the next evolution in sport is starting to look inside and seeing what players can get differently, how they can prepare. And I think especially this year, it's really important because the anxiety levels and just everything that's come along with this COVID, I think it's a great time for us to try and reach everybody. So our first set's with the sports psychologist with Kyle Berg. And then after that, we're going to look at some other options as well for the team builders and the mental preparedness. So every team's going to have multiple seminars like that.
And right now, those are virtual sessions, I guess.
Yeah, everything's going to be Zoom.
Which is too bad, but it's still good to have it offered.
Yeah, it also gives us a chance to record it, and people who couldn't see it or weren't there, I think that's great that they have the ability to go back and work their way through it.
Okay. Just a reminder, numbers on the screen if you have some questions. We've got, it says 9 minutes. We might go a few minutes over if you have a few more questions coming in, so please send those through. One question coming in around sort of this all-inclusive fee. Obviously, we're in a unique year this year, which sort of, I don't want to say necessitated that, but drew us to that. Assuming the world returns to normal next year, are we still looking at that all-inclusive fee model, or what's the thinking next year? Obviously, still early days, but what's the thought?
I think we're open to everything, to be honest. We want to see how it plays out. I think right now it really has allowed us to be pliable. It's strange times having stuff open and closed. We want to make sure that this year we do offer the most development. We want to give kids the best opportunity even in trying times, but moving forward, I'm not sure if I had a crystal ball. I'd guess it's probably going to be something that's a bit of a hybrid of the two because I think there's been some real positives. I think there's some areas for improvement. But I think that that's something we had to work through. So moving forward, it's going to come down to the club working with MHC and them taking the advice from members. At the end of the year, we're definitely going to have a survey and get people's advice on what they thought was good and what they would like to see changed, and then we'll follow that lead.
And to tell you the truth, I've been looped in or emailed directly with some feedback and comments around fees and the fee structure. And to tell you the truth, especially like some of them have been extremely well thought out and very, consider a lot of different factors. And I think feedback like that, whether it's coming through a survey when we do it or whether it's directly to us, is really valuable. I think this is a unique year and it's a change from what's been done in the past. I think collectively as a minor hockey committee and even as a hockey department, we probably already learned a lot of things that we can take to next year. A lot of positives, but also some that can be changed. So keep that feedback coming. I think it's really valuable. Goaltenders. So on this is, I guess this question's on the female side, but it's true on male side. It probably spills back to some of the stuff that Saylor was talking about and that he's working on with Cam. We're light on goalies in certain age groups and certain teams. Any thoughts on what can be done there? The question here is, can we bring in a non-member goalie or other things? I think, to tell you the truth, I think what Saylor spoke to of what's going on with the goalie development and the work that Lyndon's doing and that Cam's spearheading is really good about sort of building a foundation of I guess, a goaltender culture, to be honest, with a uniform coaching presence and all that. And the hope is that will, eventually have a big bubble of goalies coming through and hopefully some good ones. Doesn't necessarily solve the problem overnight. So Bob, any thoughts on options there? Obviously mid-season is tough, but next year if this happens again, or what the thought process was this year?
Yeah, for sure. So goalies around the province, just in minor hockey, they tend to fluctuate based on the NHL, to be honest. So when I first got into coaching was just before the Roberto Luongo times, and the wells were dry. When I was working with Coquitlam Minor, while I was still in college, I remember we had like one goalie per team in a lot of the age groups, and that's a much bigger association than ours. And then Luongo came, and teams suddenly had 3 per team. Every kid wanted to be involved with it. So there are ebbs and flows that go with the natural progression and what's kind of getting the hype in the media, I guess. So what we're trying to do this year is to build more of our own goalies, basically the homegrown. It's the whole reason for putting the initiation development in. So even though there are players who may not be a goalie full time, we want to make sure they have those opportunities to give it a try. I can imagine not being a goalie myself by any way, shape, or form, and definitely not wanting to. Just something about getting hit with pucks on purpose doesn't appeal to me. But for some kids, we want to give them that chance, see if they like it in a controlled environment with the coaches out there. And then maybe they stick, maybe they find something they're good at. For a lot of players, that's what it comes down to: what sport they pick, what position they pick. It's where they start to have success. So if we can get more of those players involved and give them those chances to succeed, hopefully we start to build our own goalies moving up. As far as recruiting players, it's another reason why we want to have our homegrown program for spring hockey, because we can't go and ask. I can't walk into a North Van rink and grab a kid walking off the ice and ask the North Van goalie if he wants to come play for us. There are consequences to that as far as recruiting and tampering with other players in minor hockey. You can be fined, you can be suspended from league play. So there's a bit of a line to that. When spring hockey hits and it's the Wild West, if it's our coaches running the teams and we have those teams coming into our buildings, well, that's a totally different beast. That's where we can really start to reach out and find where we need goalies in age groups and can start to have those conversations. So it's something we're really aware of. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to build our own. The ones that we do build, that they stay because we have a great program. And then when we find a need somewhere, I mean, in one of our age groups, we had kids move to Calgary, a kid moved to Winnipeg. That's only puts a big hole when you have 8 goalies, 2 of them are gone, as well as one other leaving on his own merit. It puts us up against it. So we want to make sure that our reputation and kids that we've talked to and what others have seen is the top in the industry. So.
This is an interesting question. I don't know how many people necessarily want to know about the minor hockey committee details and specifics, but someone has asked who is responsible for what within the minor hockey committee. And the truth is that a lot of the discussion, or almost all of the discussion, is sort of handled across the group. But we do have sort of a breakdown. I'll do this really quick. And if you have any more questions after, you can talk to me. But within our group, I get to be the chair and sort of oversee things. So I can not have anything detailed on my plate. But we've got Jeff Bowman, who's really around sort of policies and process, chair discipline, legal and compliance, and ice schedule. Joe Lawler focuses on sort of female hockey, hockey programming, marketing, communication, stuff like that. Of course, Jill's sort of brand new to that role in the last few weeks. Mike Sheriff is looking after sort of, rep hockey and I guess sort of higher end hockey, as he's talked through today, as well as tryouts, high performance, and working with the zone program. Roberto Brogan, his big pieces are around coaches and referees, tournaments, not so much this year, but then also around equipment. And then Cam McFadden, risk management, division coordinators, but his big focus, well, he's treasurer, but that's a bit of a different animal this year. But goalie development's obviously been his big focus. So I rushed through that, but if you want, reach out to me. Happy to talk through that. We're getting to that's sort of it. Some of the questions are starting to double up, Bob. We have a minute left, so we've actually done pretty well. I'll hold it open for 1 minute if anyone has any questions. But I think we peaked up over 60 people at this call for today. Really appreciate people joining and being part of this. I think one of the tough parts is when things aren't shared, and that's not the mantra of obviously the hockey department or of the minor hockey committee. So please reach out to us with any questions. we'd rather deal with them directly than have rumors and things flying around. So, you know, I know us as a minor hockey committee are really thankful for the work that Bob and Emily and Saylor and Tyson have really put in through a bizarre last, I don't know, 3-6 months, whatever it's been, for planning this season and doing everything they can to make this work and make a great season for our kids. So we're really lucky to have them. You know, big thanks to that group. So Bob, I'll pass it over to you. No more questions coming in. But you know, again, people ask us questions whenever you can, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Okay, just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. Hopefully we throw a couple more of these. I believe we're going to try and put something together for the initiation age group in the next couple weeks to be able to give you guys a bit of an outline with where hockey looks from H1 all the way through to your NHL stardom. I think there's a lot of parents who aren't really sure of what the next steps are. And for us, it's interesting having that perspective from being through it 5,000 times with a variety of different kids and age groups. But we want to make sure that everybody going through for the first time knows what comes next. What do tryouts look like? What do your different options look like as you move forward? When do you need an agent? The answer is not initiation, but just to be able to give those answers and hopefully lay that out. We also want to do them, one of those for the Atom age group, probably coming up in December at some point, just to lay out what our options are for next year. Again, this is a strange time to be trying to lay out anything looking forward, but we want to make sure that we're able to give people the questions. We want to make sure that we're able to give people answers to questions they may have, or quash some rumors that you need X, Y, Z at whatever age, and want to make sure we can give honest answers to that. And then we'll also do one for the Pee Wee age group to make sure they know what's coming for next year to the best of our ability to try and help them out. Outside of that, thank you all for being safe and making good choices with your kids right now. I know it's crazy times. We are super, super lucky to have the setup that we do, owning our own rinks, so our players have access to ice when others may not, or we're not at the mercy of rinks, or we're not at the mercy of municipalities who are shutting stuff down. And I really appreciate all the caution people are taking and listening to the protocols we've put in place, like coming in your gear, wearing your masks, doing everything we can to just stay safe. We've been lucky, as far as to my knowledge, of very, very few cases at the club compared to a lot of other communities. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing your kids around on the ice, and hopefully seeing you guys back once we're all allowed. So thank you very much.